Ever wished you could just, I don't know, like snip out the bad parts of anything?
No.
Like just get rid of the stuff you don't want?
Yeah.
Well, turns out scientists are getting really close to doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with DNA. Today we're going deep into the world of CRISPR-Cas9.
CRISPR.
Yeah, a gene editing tool that's so precise, it's making waves in like everything.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this technology is just advancing so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy. So our mission today is to unpack CRISPR-Cas9. We've got excerpts from this recent article that breaks it all down,
Okay.
and it's actually really easy to understand.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so think of this as your cheat sheet to understanding CRISPR.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is CRISPR-Cas9?
Right.
I kind of think of it as like a molecular find and replace tool for DNA.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
It basically gives scientists the ability to edit genes, but like super accurately.
Yeah. Imagine being able to like target a specific gene and just
Yeah.
like snip it out.
Yep.
And even like replace it with a different version.
It's like having microscopic surgeons operating on us.
Uh,
But what's so crazy is that this technology
mhm.
is actually inspired by bacteria.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
How so?
Bacteria have been using CRISPR like forever to fight off viruses.
Okay.
It's like their own immune system. So when a virus attacks a bacterium, CRISPR basically takes a snapshot of the virus's DNA and then stores it in like this memory bank.
Oh, wow.
And so if that same virus tries to invade again, CRISPR guides an enzyme called Cas9
Okay.
to like chop up the virus's DNA.
Huh. So it's like remembering what attacked them.
Yeah, and then just being ready to attack it if it comes back.
That's really interesting.
So they've been using gene editing to protect themselves. And we're just now,
Catching up.
yeah, catching up.
Exactly. What's cool is that scientists have figured out how to harness this bacterial system and actually adapt it for gene editing in other organisms.
Oh, wow. So like use it in other things than just bacteria.
Exactly, yeah, even us.
Wow. And it's not just theoretical either. CRISPR's already making a real impact. Like one area where we're seeing so much progress is in developing new therapies
Okay.
for genetic diseases. Like
Right.
just think about it. Scientists are now doing clinical trials using CRISPR to treat sickle cell anemia.
Wow.
They're editing the faulty gene in patients' blood cells.
It's really remarkable. Imagine, like, inherited diseases like sickle cell or cystic fibrosis.
Yeah.
Or Huntington's. What if they could be cured?
It's almost hard to even imagine. And speaking of mind-blowing applications, scientists are also using CRISPR to create genetically modified animals. And this has led to some pretty interesting and controversial results.
One area I know that's getting a lot of attention is xenotransplantation.
Xenotransplantation.
Yeah. So that's the idea of transplanting organs from animals into humans.
Oh, wow.
So scientists are using CRISPR to modify pig organs to make them more compatible with the human immune system.
Yeah. So could pigs someday solve the organ shortage?
Well, I mean, potentially.
That's incredible.
Eh.
But it also makes you think, like, is that ethical to use animals that way?
Yeah, it's a complex issue for sure.
And then, of course, there was that whole thing with the genetically edited twins in China
Oh, right.
back in 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, a scientist actually used CRISPR to edit the genes of human embryos.
Yeah, it was a huge ethical debate.
Yeah, it really put the ethical side of CRISPR into the spotlight.
Definitely.
But it's important to remember that there are different types of CRISPR editing,
Right.
and they have different implications.
Yeah, so for example, like somatic gene editing,
Okay.
it only targets cells in the body that aren't involved in reproduction. So any changes that are made are only limited to that person.
Oh, okay.
They're not passed down.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like fixing a leaky faucet.
Oh,
You're addressing the problem, but you're not changing like the actual plumbing.
gotcha. Yeah, so it's not affecting future generations.
But then there's germline editing, and that's where things get a little ethically murky.
Yeah.
Because it involves modifying genes in things like eggs and sperm or even embryos,
Right.
which means those changes would then be inherited.
Yeah.
It's like you're rewriting the blueprint of life.
Yeah. It raises questions about all sorts of things like unintended consequences or designer babies.
Yeah, like what does it even mean to be human?
Exactly.
So the potential of CRISPR is huge, but we've got to be careful.
We do.
We'll definitely be exploring those ethical dimensions more. But before we get to that, let's look at some of the exciting applications of CRISPR. It's actually already being used in tons of fields, from treating diseases to agriculture.
Yeah, one area that's really promising is the use of CRISPR in developing new cancer therapies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine being able to boost the body's natural defenses to fight cancer.
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's happening right now.
It is. Scientists are using CRISPR to edit immune cells
Wow.
and basically turn them into these targeted cancer killing machines.
Oh,
And this approach, it's called CAR T-cell therapy. It's actually been super successful in treating some blood cancers.
wow.
And we're really just getting started with what's possible.
It's just incredible to think that we could be on the edge of like a whole new era of medicine.
It is remarkable how fast things are moving.
Yeah.
But, we do need to acknowledge the potential downsides
Yeah.
and ethical challenges that come with something so powerful.
That's a good point, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into next.
Okay?
So buckle up as we navigate this ethical maze around CRISPR
Sounds good.
and explore what it could mean for the future.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into CRISPR. Before, we were talking about those cancer therapies.
Yeah,
Pretty mind-blowing.
it is. And the thing is, the applications of CRISPR go way beyond just treating diseases,
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's being used to tackle some really big challenges like food security, climate change.
Yeah, we talked about agriculture a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's get into how CRISPR is actually changing the way we grow crops.
Okay, yeah. So one of the most promising areas is like developing crops that are resistant to things,
Mhm.
like pests and diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And this could really cut down on the need for all those pesticides,
Yeah.
herbicides,
Which would be great for the environment.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd have huge benefits for the environment and for us.
So CRISPR could actually help us produce more food, but with less impact.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
And it's not just about disease resistance. I mean, scientists are also using CRISPR to make crops more nutritious.
Exactly. Like, for example, there are now tomatoes with higher levels of antioxidants.
Oh, wow.
And they've even developed rice that has more vitamin A.
So CRISPR could even tackle malnutrition.
It could. Yeah, it could really improve global health.
That's amazing. And it's not just about making existing crops better either. Scientists are using CRISPR to develop totally new types of crops.
Yeah, crops that can grow in really tough environments,
Mm.
like places with droughts or bad soil. So CRISPR could actually be like a secret weapon in fighting hunger and climate change.
It really could be. But, it's easy to get caught up in all the good stuff
Yeah,
and kind of forget about the risks.
that's true. What kind of risks are there?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is unintended consequences.
Okay.
Like, we're still learning about how genes really work, and even a tiny change in one gene could have, these ripple effects
Yeah.
on a whole organism or even like an entire ecosystem.
So we could mess things up pretty bad.
We could, yeah. We need to be really careful. And then there are the ethical implications, like using CRISPR to change the human germline.
Right.
I mean, this has caused a lot of debate, and for good reason.
Oh.
The idea of like editing the genes of future generations
Yeah.
brings up a lot of questions about human autonomy, social justice, even what it means to be human.
It's not like opening Pandora's box. Like, where do you even draw the line?
Exactly.
Who decides what traits are good or bad?
Right. These are questions we all need to be asking.
Yeah.
And there aren't easy answers. But it's important that we have these conversations and that we approach this technology carefully and responsibly.
Absolutely. We can't just focus on all the amazing things it can do
Right.
and ignore the potential downsides and the ethics of it all.
Exactly. And it's not just about the science itself. It's about the values we want to have as a society.
So do we want to use CRISPR to, like, enhance humans?
Yeah.
Or should we just stick to using it to fight diseases and suffering?
Those are tough questions, and we need to answer them together.
It's a lot to think about, but, to bring it back to something a bit more personal, remember that question from the article?
Which one?
The one that asked, if you could edit one gene in yourself, what would it be?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you really examine what you value. Like, would you pick a gene to make you stronger or smarter? Or maybe live longer?
Yeah, it's so tempting to think about all the possibilities. But it also makes you realize how big of a decision that would be. We'd be changing who we are at our core.
We would. And that's why this whole conversation about CRISPR is so important. It's not just about science. It's about who we are.
And what kind of future we want.
Exactly.
Welcome back to our CRISPR deep dive. We were just talking about that question, the one about editing a gene in yourself.
Yeah, it really gets you thinking about the ethics of it all.
It does, because you have curing diseases on one hand,
Right.
but then, enhancing humans on the other.
Yeah, it's a whole other set of questions.
And as we've talked about, CRISPR has so much potential.
It does.
But we have to be super careful. We've got to think about the risks and the ethics.
Absolutely. It's a tough balance.
It is. And it's not just a conversation for scientists.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. Policymakers, the public. I mean, these decisions about CRISPR,
Yeah.
they could change everything.
They really could. It's the future of our species we're talking about.
So what can we do, like, as individuals? How can we make sure this technology is used the right way?
Well, I think the first thing is we need to learn. The more we know about CRISPR, how it works, the good and the bad, the better we'll be at making good decisions, having these discussions.
We can't just jump in without knowing what we're doing.
Exactly. And then, we need rules,
Yeah.
ethical guidelines,
Yeah.
regulations. We've got to make sure CRISPR benefits everyone.
Not just a select few.
Exactly.
It feels like we're at this really important point, like a crossroads.
Yeah,
CRISPR could change the world in amazing ways,
it could.
but it could also do a lot of harm. The choices we make now, they're going to determine what happens.
It's a journey we have to take together, I think, with open minds, thinking about how to use this technology ethically for good.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. I
Yeah.
feel like I've learned a lot about CRISPR,
Yeah.
but also about responsibility, like our responsibility for the future of this technology.
I'm glad. Because in the end, the future of CRISPR is in our hands. It's up to us to use it to build a better world.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of CRISPR. We've covered so much, but it's really just the beginning. So keep learning, keep asking questions. Let's make sure this technology is used to help everyone.
I agree. It was great being here.